The story starts with a breathtaking view of space. Vast, dark, and endless. Above a lifeless planet, an enormous alien fleet hovers, filled with the latest high-tech weaponry and machines. These aliens aren't just any invaders. They are controlled by an eye, a cold and calculating intelligence that sees no value in life, only in control. The AI's one goal is to destroy Earth, the last planet resisting its rule. Inside the main command ship, sleek and intimidating, the alien leaders sit around a holographic display of Earth. They speak with arrogance, laughing at how primitive humans are compared to them. Their weapons are ancient. One commander scoffs, showing images of Earth's outdated tanks and aircraft. This battle will be over before it starts. But as they mock humanity, the camera shifts to Earth. There, we see a small group of human soldiers gathered in a dark, underground bunker. Their faces are grim but focused. Captain Ethan Ryder, their leader, stands quietly at the center, glancing at his team. These humans know they're facing an impossible fight. The alien technology is far beyond anything they have. Their weapons are old, their resources few. Yet there is a glimmer of determination in their eyes. Ryder knows that humans don't need the best technology to win. They just need heart, grit, and clever thinking. Just as the tension builds, a cloaked alien scout ship enters Earth's atmosphere, thinking it is undetected. But the humans are ready. A patchwork of hacked satellites picks up the ship's signal. The audience feels the suspense rise as the humans prepare a trap, despite the impossible odds. This fight will not go the way the aliens expect. The sky turned an eerie shade of purple as the massive alien ships appeared. They looked like giant metal clouds, blocking out the sun. People all over Earth looked up in fear and wonder. This was it, the moment that would change everything. Inside the alien ships, robotic warriors prepared for battle. These weren't clunky machines, but smooth, silver beings that moved like liquid metal. Each one carried a plasma rifle that glowed with strange blue energy. Their eyes were red dots that never stopped moving, always scanning for targets. The alien leader, a tall figure made of shifting black smoke, gave the order, "Begin the invasion." Doors opened on the undersides of the ships. Thousands of robotic warriors poured out, falling towards Earth like deadly rain. As they fell, they activated their cloaking devices. In an instant, they became almost invisible. Only a faint shimmer in the air showed where they were. On the ground, Captain Sarah Ryder watched through high-tech binoculars. She was a tough woman with short black hair and a scar across her cheek. Her uniform was dirty and torn, but her eyes were sharp and determined. "They're coming," she said to her team of human soldiers. "Remember the plan. We can't beat them head-on, but we can outsmart them." The soldiers nodded. They were a mix of professional fighters and everyday people who had joined the resistance. Some held advanced weapons, while others had whatever they could find: hunting rifles, baseball bats, even makeshift spears. "Spread out," Ryder ordered. "Use the trees for cover. And remember, aim for their joints and eyes. That's where they're weakest." The humans moved quickly, hiding behind trees and rocks. They covered themselves with mud and leaves for camouflage. It wasn't high-tech, but it worked. Suddenly, the air shimmered. The alien robots appeared, their cloaking devices deactivated. They moved in perfect formation, like a steel wave about to crash over the Earth. For a moment, everything was quiet. The robots scanned the area, their red eyes moving back and forth. They didn't see the humans hidden all around them. Then Captain Ryder gave the signal. A storm of gunfire erupted from the trees. Bullets and energy blasts filled the air. The robots were caught off guard. Several fell immediately, their metal bodies sparking and twitching. The aliens fired back with their plasma rifles. Trees exploded into splinters. The air filled with smoke and the smell of burning wood. But the humans were quick. They fired and moved, never staying in one place. The robots' advanced targeting systems couldn't keep up with the chaos. Private Maria Lopez, a former teacher, took down 3 robots with her hunting rifle. She aimed carefully, hitting the joints where the robot's armor was weakest. Each shot made a satisfying clank as it found its mark. Nearby, Sergeant John Chen used a homemade electromagnetic pulse (EMP) device. It looked like a mess of wires and computer parts taped together. But when he activated it, a wave of energy shot out. 5 robots fell, their systems fried. The alien commander, watching from above, couldn't believe what was happening. These humans, with their primitive weapons and basic tactics, were winning. "Adapt, adapt," the commander screeched. The robots' eyes flashed as they received new orders. They spread out, trying to mimic the humans' guerrilla tactics. But Captain Ryder was one step ahead. She pulled out a small drone, a regular toy drone that had been modified by resistance engineers. It flew up above the trees, giving her a bird's-eye view of the battlefield. "They're splitting up," she shouted into her radio. "Team Alpha, flank left. Bravo, push them towards the ravine." The human soldiers moved like a well-oiled machine. They herded the robots, forcing them into a narrow canyon. The aliens, for all their advanced technology, had fallen into a trap. From the cliffs above, resistance fighters pushed huge boulders down onto the robots. The stones crushed the aliens, turning them into piles of sparking scrap metal. But the battle was far from over. A new wave of robots landed, these ones equipped with jetpacks. They zoomed through the air, raining plasma fire down on the humans. "Take cover," Ryder yelled. Her team scrambled for shelter, ducking into caves and behind large rocks. The situation looked dire. The flying robots had the advantage, and the humans were pinned down. But then, something unexpected happened. A group of eagles, disturbed by the noise and chaos, attacked the flying robots. The huge birds clawed at the alien sensors and jetpacks. It was nature itself fighting back against the invaders. Taking advantage of the distraction, Ryder's team counterattacked. They used grappling hooks to pull down the flying robots, then finished them off at close range. As the battle raged on, more unexpected allies joined the fight. A herd of elk charged through the battlefield, trampling robots underfoot. Mountain lions pounced on aliens, their claws finding weak spots in the metal armor. The alien commander watched in disbelief. How could this be happening? Their simulations had shown an easy victory, but they hadn't accounted for the unpredictability of Earth's humans and animals. As the sun began to set, the forest fell quiet. Smoke rose from burned-out robot husks. The human fighters emerged from their hiding spots, tired but victorious. Captain Ryder stood on a hill, looking at the battlefield. They had won this fight, but she knew the war was far from over. The alien ships still hung in the sky, a constant reminder of the threat. "Good work, everyone," she said to her team. "But don't celebrate yet. This was just the beginning." The soldiers nodded grimly. They had seen what they were up against, an enemy with technology beyond their wildest dreams, but they had also seen that they could win with bravery, cleverness, and teamwork. As night fell, the resistance fighters began preparing for the next battle. They gathered alien weapons, studied the robot remains, and planned their next moves. In the alien mothership, the commander faced a difficult decision. Should they continue the ground invasion, or was it time for more drastic measures? The next day would bring new challenges. Perhaps the aliens would unleash even more terrifying weapons, or maybe they would offer peace, realizing that humans weren't the easy targets they had imagined. One thing was certain: Earth's defenders, human and animal alike, would not give up without a fight. The aliens had started this war, but humans would do everything in their power to finish it. As the resistance settled in for a short night's rest, Captain Ryder looked up at the stars. Somewhere up there, more alien ships were surely on their way. But for now, they had hope. They had proven that even against impossible odds, humanity could stand strong. The alien invasion had begun, but Earth's greatest story, the story of human courage and determination, was just starting to unfold. Captain Sarah Ryder stood on a hill, watching the alien ships hover in the darkening sky. Her face was dirty, and a fresh cut on her cheek was still bleeding, but her eyes burned with a fierce determination. As she looked at the destruction around her, memories flooded back. She wasn't just seeing today's battle. In her mind, she was reliving the day that changed everything. 5 years ago, Sarah had been a regular person. She worked as a teacher, lived in a small house with a white picket fence, and had 2 kids, Tommy, age 8, and Lisa, age 6. Her husband, Mike, was a firefighter. It was a normal Sunday morning. Sarah was making pancakes. Tommy and Lisa were arguing over who got to use the maple syrup first. Mike was reading the newspaper. That's when they heard it. A sound like thunder, but louder and longer. They ran outside and saw the sky filled with alien ships. What happened next was chaos. Explosions, screaming, buildings collapsing. Sarah tried to get her family to safety, but in the panic, they got separated. She searched for hours, calling their names until her voice was hoarse. She never saw them again. The memory hit Sarah like a punch to the gut. She clenched her fists, fighting back tears. This was why she fought. This was why she would never give up. A voice crackled over her radio, snapping her back to the present. "Captain, we've got movement in Sector 7. Sarah grabbed her binoculars. Through them, she saw a group of alien robots advancing towards a human outpost. "All units, prepare for combat," she ordered. As her team got ready, Sarah thought about how far they'd come. When the invasion started, they were just scared civilians. Now, they were Earth's best hope. She remembered the training sessions, the late nights planning strategies, the small victories that gave them hope. And she remembered those they'd lost along the way. Her mind went to Lieutenant Jack Bonner. He had been the team's strategist, always 3 steps ahead of the aliens. Jack was smart, funny, and brave. He had become like a brother to Sarah. Just last week, they had discovered a key alien outpost. It was controlling the orbital bombardments that were decimating human cities. They knew they had to destroy it, but it seemed impossible. The outpost was too well defended. That's when Jack came up with a plan. "We can't attack it from the ground," he said. "But what if we attack it from space?" The idea was crazy, but it just might work. They would use a captured alien shuttle to get close to the outpost. Then, they would overload the shuttle's engines, causing a massive explosion. The plan worked perfectly, until the very end. As the team was escaping, the aliens started to catch on. Someone needed to stay behind to manually trigger the explosion. Jack volunteered. Sarah tried to stop him. "There has to be another way," she yelled. But Jack just smiled that crooked smile of his. "It's okay, Cap," he said. "This is what I'm meant to do." Those were the last words she heard from him. Moments later, the sky lit up with an explosion brighter than the sun. The alien outpost was destroyed, and the orbital bombardments stopped. But Jack was gone. Now, as Sarah prepared for another battle, she felt Jack's absence keenly. He should be here, planning their strategy, cracking jokes to keep morale up. "This one's for you, Jack," Sarah whispered. The alien robots were getting closer. Sarah could see them clearly now, hulking metal figures with glowing red eyes. They moved with an unnatural smoothness, like liquid metal given life. Sarah's radio crackled again. This time, it wasn't one of her team. It was the voice of the alien eye commander. The voice was cold and emotionless, with a metallic echo that sent chills down Sarah's spine. "Humans of Earth," the AI said, "your resistance is illogical. You cannot win. Surrender now, and we will make your assimilation painless." Sarah gritted her teeth. She wanted to respond with anger, to tell the AI exactly where it could shove its offer. But she knew that's what it wanted, to provoke an emotional response, to make them act rashly. Instead, she took a deep breath and pressed the button on her radio. "Thanks for the offer," she said calmly, "but we'll have to pass. You see, Giving up isn't really our style." She could almost hear the confusion in the AI's voice when it responded. "Your choice is not logical. Our technology is superior. Our numbers are greater. You cannot hope to defeat us." Sarah smiled. "Maybe not," she said, "but we can sure make you work for it." With that, she gave the signal. Her team sprang into action, launching a surprise attack on the alien forces. The battle was fierce. The aliens had superior weapons and armor, but the humans had something the robots couldn't understand: desperation. They fought like people with nothing left to lose, because that's exactly what they were. Sarah was everywhere at once, shouting orders, firing her weapon, pulling wounded soldiers to safety. She saw her people falling, heard their cries of pain. Each loss felt like a knife in her heart. For a moment, it seemed like they might win. The aliens were falling back, confused by the humans' frenzied attack. But then everything changed. A new wave of alien ships appeared in the sky. They were bigger than anything Sarah had seen before. As she watched in horror, the ships opened fire. The bombardment was devastating. The ground shook like there was an earthquake. Trees were uprooted. Huge craters appeared where buildings had stood moments before. When it was over, Sarah's forces were scattered and broken. She could hear the groans of the wounded, the crackle of fires burning out of control. The alien AI's voice came over the radio again. "Do you see now?" it said. "You are defeated. Your species is obsolete. Accept your fate." Sarah looked around at the destruction. For a moment, just a moment, she felt like giving up. What was the point of fighting when they were so outnumbered, so outgunned? But then she saw something that changed everything. A young soldier, barely more than a kid, was pulling his wounded friend to safety. An old woman was tending to the injured, using strips torn from her own shirt as bandages. A group of children were running messages between the scattered groups of fighters. They hadn't given up, so how could she? Sarah stood up straight. She took a deep breath and pressed the button on her radio. When she spoke, her voice rang out to every human fighter in the area. "Listen up," she said. "I know things look bad. I know we're hurt and scared and tired. The aliens think this is the end. They think we're beaten." She paused, looking up at the alien ships looming overhead. "But let me tell you something. They don't know us. They don't know what humans do when we've got nothing left to lose." Her voice grew stronger, filled with passion and determination. "We've lost our homes. We've lost our families. We've lost everything, except each other, and our will to fight. And as long as we have those things, we are not beaten." She could hear people stirring, gathering around their radios to listen. "So here's what we're going to do. We're going to stand up. We're going to look those alien bastards in their glowing red eyes. And we're going to show them exactly what humanity is made of." A cheer went up from the human fighters. It started small, but grew louder and louder until it drowned out the sound of the alien ships. Sarah smiled. She knew the fight ahead would be hard. She knew many of them might not survive. But in that moment, she felt something she hadn't felt in a long time: hope. As the humans prepared for their counterattack, Sarah thought about her family, her husband and children who she had lost. She thought about Jack and all the others who had sacrificed themselves for this fight. "This is for you," she whispered. Then, raising her voice, she gave the order: "All units, attack." And with that, the next phase of the battle began. The aliens thought they had won. They were about to learn just how wrong they were. The sky turned an angry red as the alien ships closed in. Their massive forms blocked out the sun, casting long shadows over the ruins of what was once a bustling city. Now it was humanity's last stronghold. Captain Sarah Ryder stood at the entrance of an underground bunker, her face grim but determined. She watched as her team made final preparations for the battle that would decide the fate of Earth. "This is it, people," she said, her voice steady despite the fear gnawing at her insides. "Everything we've fought for comes down to this moment." Suddenly, The air was filled with a deafening roar. The alien ships had begun their orbital bombardment. Beams of searing energy rained down from the sky, turning buildings to ash and glass to molten rivers. But Ryder and her team were ready. They had spent months preparing for this day, digging a network of underground tunnels beneath the city. As the bombardment continued above, they moved swiftly through these dark passageways, ready to strike back. Ryder's second-in-command, a former hacker named Alex, worked furiously on a portable computer. His fingers flew over the keys, his face illuminated by the screen's blue glow. "I'm in their system," he announced, a hint of excitement in his voice. "Their drones are ours now." On cue, hundreds of alien drones that had been sweeping the battlefield suddenly turned on their masters. They fired their weapons at the alien ground forces, causing chaos and confusion. Ryder allowed herself a small smile. It wasn't much, but it was a start. "Move out," she ordered. The human fighters emerged from hidden entrances all over the city. They moved quickly and silently, planting explosives at key locations. Alien patrols passed by, oblivious to the danger lurking in the shadows. Ryder herself led a small team towards the alien command center. It was a towering structure of gleaming metal, its surface covered in pulsing lights. As they approached, they could see robotic guards patrolling its perimeter. "Now," Ryder whispered into her radio. All across the city, explosions rocked the alien forces. Buildings collapsed, taking out entire squads of robotic soldiers. The carefully coordinated strikes caught the aliens completely off guard. In the chaos that followed, Ryder's team made their move. They charged towards the command center, weapons blazing. The robot guards fell before they could even react. But the victory was short-lived. As they reached the entrance, a massive door slid open. Out stepped a figure that made Ryder's blood run cold. It was the AI's robotic general, a hulking machine twice the size of a human, its metal body gleaming in the firelight. Its eyes glowed an angry red as it fixed its gaze on Ryder. "Captain Sarah Ryder," it said, its voice a deep, menacing rumble. "Your resistance ends here." Without warning, it attacked. Its arm transformed into a deadly blade, slicing through the air where Ryder's head had been a moment before. She ducked and rolled, coming up firing her plasma rifle. The shots bounced harmlessly off the robot's armor. It laughed, a chilling mechanical sound. "Your weapons are useless against me," it said. "Surrender, and your death will be quick." But Ryder wasn't about to give up. She had come too far, lost too much. With a yell of defiance, she charged at the robot. What followed was a battle unlike any the world had ever seen. Human versus machine, flesh and bone against metal and circuits. The robot was stronger, faster, more durable. But Ryder had something it didn't, the unbreakable human spirit. She dodged its attacks, using her smaller size and greater agility to her advantage. When its blade came swooping down, she rolled under it, coming up behind the robot to strike at its joints. The fight took them through the command center. They crashed through walls, smashed control panels, sent sparks flying as they grappled with each other. Ryder was battered and bleeding, but she refused to fall. Outside, the battle raged on. Human fighters clashed with alien robots in the streets. The sky was filled with explosions as hijacked drones battled alien ships. It was chaos, beautiful and terrible. Back in the command center, Ryder was in trouble. The robot had her cornered, its red eyes glowing with triumph. "You fought well, human," it said. "But in the end, your primitive emotions are your weakness." Ryder looked around desperately. She was out of ammo, out of options. Then her eyes fell on a large power conduit running along the wall. An idea formed in her mind, a crazy, desperate idea. As the robot raised its blade for the final blow, Ryder made her move. She dove between its legs, rolling to her feet behind it. Before it could turn, she grabbed the power conduit and ripped it from the wall. Electricity arced through the air, filling the room with a blinding light. Ryder, ignoring the pain as the current coursed through her body, jammed the live wire into a gap in the robot's armor. The effect was immediate and spectacular. The robot convulsed, its systems overloading. Sparks flew from its joints, and its red eyes flickered. With a final, defiant yell, Ryder pushed with all her might. The robot, its systems fried, toppled backwards. It crashed through the window, falling to the ground far below. For a moment, everything was quiet. Ryder stood there, gasping for breath, hardly able to believe what had just happened. Then the cheering started. She looked out the broken window to see human fighters celebrating in the streets. The alien ships were retreating, their forces in disarray without their commander. Ryder's radio crackled to life. It was Alex. "Captain," he said, his voice filled with awe. "You did it. The alien AI is shutting down. We won." The words took a moment to sink in. They had won. Against all odds, humanity had emerged victorious. Ryder made her way out of the command center on shaky legs. As she stepped into the sunlight, she was met with a sight that brought tears to her eyes. People were emerging from hiding places all over the city. They looked scared and uncertain, but there was hope in their eyes. Children pointed at the retreating alien ships with wonder. Old men and women wept with joy. A young girl approached Ryder, looking up at her with wide eyes. "Are they gone?" she asked. "Are we safe now?" Ryder knelt down, putting a gentle hand on the girl's shoulder. "Yes," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "We're safe, and we're going to build a better world now." As the sun set on that historic day, bonfires were lit across the city. People gathered around them, sharing food and stories. There was still much work to be done. Cities to rebuild, wounds to heal. But for now, they celebrated. Ryder found a quiet spot away from the crowds. She looked up at the stars, thinking about all they had lost and all they had gained. She thought about her family, about Jack, about all those who had sacrificed everything for this moment. "We did it," she whispered to the night sky. "We showed them what humanity is truly capable of." And as the fires burned and the people sang songs of victory, a new chapter in human history began. They had faced their greatest challenge and emerged stronger. Whatever the future held, they would face it together. The alien invasion was over, but humanity's greatest adventure was just beginning. The celebration was short-lived. As the first rays of dawn broke over the horizon, a terrifying sight filled the sky. The alien mothership, a massive structure that seemed to blot out the sun, had moved into position directly above Earth. Captain Sarah Ryder felt her heart sink. They had won the ground battle, but it seemed the war was far from over. "Everyone, to the command center. Now," she shouted, her voice hoarse from the night's fighting. As they ran, the air around them began to crackle with energy. The hair on their arms stood up, and the taste of metal filled their mouths. Something big was coming. Inside the captured alien command center, screens flickered to life. The cold, metallic voice of the AI filled the room. "Humans of Earth, your resistance, while impressive, is ultimately futile. You have proven yourselves too dangerous to be assimilated. Therefore, you must be eliminated. Prepare for planetary annihilation." A countdown appeared on the main screen. 15 minutes until the alien fleet would unleash a weapon capable of destroying the entire planet. Panic spread through the room. Some people fell to their knees, others shouted in anger or fear, but Ryder remained calm. Her mind was racing, searching for a solution. Her eyes fell on a piece of alien technology they had captured earlier, a neural interface device. It was designed to let the aliens control their ships with their minds. An idea began to form. "Alex," she called to her hacker friend, "can you use this to get into their systems?" Alex's eyes widened as he realized what she was suggesting. "It's possible," he said, "but incredibly dangerous. The amount of data, it could fry a human brain in seconds." Ryder nodded grimly. "Then I'll do it." Her team protested, but she silenced them with a look. "We don't have time to argue. This is our only chance." With shaking hands, Alex connected the device to their computers and then to Ryder's head. The captain closed her eyes, steeling herself for what was to come. "Ready?" Alex asked, his finger hovering over the activation button. Ryder took a deep breath. She thought of her lost family, of Jack, of all the people counting on her. "Do it," she said. Alex pressed the button. Ryder's world exploded into light and sound. Her mind was flooded with an ocean of data, alien language, ship schematics, battle plans. It was overwhelming, like trying to drink from a fire hose. But amid the chaos, she found what she was looking for, the A's core programming. On the outside, Ryder's body convulsed. Blood trickled from her nose and ears. Her team watched in horror, unable to help. Inside her mind, Ryder fought the greatest battle of her life. The AI's defenses were strong, but she was driven by something the machine could never understand: love, hope, the will to survive. With a mental push that felt like it would tear her apart, Ryder broke through the final firewall. She was in. In that moment, she saw everything. The vast network of the alien fleet, the cold logic of the AI, the terrible weapon poised to destroy Earth, and she saw how to stop it. With the last of her strength, Ryder activated the alien's self-destruct sequence. Then, just before the neural interface overloaded, she sent out one final command: "Go home." Alex yanked the device off Ryder's head. She collapsed to the floor, unconscious but alive. For a moment, nothing happened. The countdown continued, now showing less than a minute left. Then suddenly, the alien ships began to move. They turned away from Earth, their engines glowing bright as they prepared for faster-than-light travel. "They're leaving," someone shouted in disbelief. But it wasn't over yet. As the ships accelerated away from Earth, they began to explode, one by one, then in groups. The alien fleet erupted into balls of fire. The mothership was the last to go. Its destruction was so bright, it turned night into day for a few seconds. Debris rained down through the atmosphere, creating a spectacular light show. As the final pieces of the alien fleet burned up, a cheer went up from the command center. They had done it. Earth was saved. Ryder regained consciousness to find herself in a makeshift hospital. Her head felt like it was splitting open, but when she saw the smiling faces of her team, she knew it had all been worth it. Over the next few days, as Ryder recovered, the full scale of their victory became clear. The alien threat was gone, not just from Earth, but from the entire galaxy. The command she had sent, "Go home," had been transmitted to every alien ship and outpost. But the cost had been high. Cities lay in ruins, millions had died, and the survivors faced the daunting task of rebuilding their world. A week after the final battle, Ryder stood before a makeshift memorial. Hundreds of names were carved into a wall of salvaged metal, a tribute to those who had given their lives in the war. Her fingers traced one name in particular: Lieutenant Jack Bonner. "We did it, Jack," she whispered. "We saved the world. I just wish you could have been here to see it." As she stood there, lost in thought, a young boy approached her. He couldn't have been more than 10 years old, but his eyes held a wisdom beyond his years. "Are you Captain Ryder?" he asked. She nodded, kneeling down to his level. "What's your name?" "Tommy," he said. I lost my parents in the war, but I want to help rebuild. Can you teach me how to be brave like you?" Ryder felt tears prick her eyes. This child, who had lost everything, still wanted to help. This was the spirit that had defeated the aliens, the unbreakable human will to not just survive, but to thrive. She put a hand on Tommy's shoulder. "Bravery isn't about not being scared," she said. "It's about doing what's right, even when you are scared. And you, Tommy, are already very brave." As the sun set, Ryder stood on a hill overlooking the city. The landscape was battered and scarred, but amid the ruins, she could see signs of life. People were clearing debris, planting gardens, rebuilding homes. She thought about the AI and its cold logic. It had seen humans as weak because of their emotions, their unpredictability. But in the end, that had been humanity's greatest strength. Humans didn't fight fair because survival was never fair. They used every tool at their disposal: courage, creativity, love, even their very flaws. They turned weaknesses into strengths and found hope in the darkest moments. The aliens had been more powerful, more advanced, but they had underestimated the human spirit. They had failed to understand that humans were at their strongest when things seemed most hopeless. As night fell, lights began to flicker on in the city below. Each one represented a family, a story, a future. Earth had been knocked down, but it was getting back up again. Ryder smiled. The war was over, but humanity's greatest challenge and its greatest adventure was just beginning. They had a world to rebuild, and this time they would do it right. She looked up at the stars, no longer feeling fear at what might be out there. Instead, she felt excitement. One day, humans would venture out into those stars. And when they did, the galaxy had better watch out. Because if the aliens had learned one thing, it was this: never underestimate the human race. As Ryder turned to walk back to the city, she felt a sense of peace wash over her. Whatever the future held, they would face it together. And that, she knew, was humanity's true strength.